Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. It is the blackest minded, blackest hearted, blackest man on social media, signing black in and shining again, asking you to hit that share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Forgive the creaking and popping noises you might hear, it's the chairs. After listening and being on Gamechanger's Livestream for a little bit, I have to say to the masses here that Rashida Strober is not making up the problem. I've said this before. Rashida Strober is talking about what she faced in childhood. The trauma has lasted into adulthood, even though we're not largely as adults continuing the same ignorant ass colorism. That's one thing I wanted to point out. The second thing I'd like to point out to us is that this color discrimination, it has two directions. Now, some people would say colorism is only when you discriminate against the darker people within an ethnic group, not against the paler people. The discrimination against the paler people is merely a reaction. That may be true. I don't know, and I'm not going to argue it. What I am going to say is that the discrimination within the black community does run in both directions. Very light-skinned people in our community catch it. Very dark-skinned people in our community catch it. The only ones in the community that don't really catch it are going to be the ones that are in the majority complexion for that community, or they're right smack dab in the middle of the spectrum. Everybody else catches it. And sometimes you could be in a town and everybody's the same complexion, and so nobody really catches it. Till somebody from outside comes in, and this is ridiculous. But it does happen. Angel Ramirez Jordan had a knife held to his face, was almost cut. A light-skinned woman on a radio program, which I heard, I can't remember what her name is, but she's on a radio, a famous radio program in her city. Talked about growing up in New York and getting slashed in the face by a razor, or with a razor by some girls that said that they were doing it because she was light-skinned and she thought she was better than them. You could call it reactionary colorism if you want. The point is the black community has faced this division before. And it does go both ways. I myself saw it, and other people I grew up with saw it. Both those who were dark-skinned and those who were pale-skinned. When you're very dark, you grow up as a youngster hearing all these things about how black you are, and then about your teens, it kind of levels off a little bit, especially if you're a boy. But when you're pale-skinned, you hear comments you don't fully understand when you're young, and then you begin to understand them as you get older. But you're also told that you're not facing any discrimination based on your complexion. You're not being treated differently because of your complexion. If anything, you're being treated better. That's what you're told. Because of the perception that white folks are always treating you better, many black folks are going to treat you worse. So you wind up going through worse treatment from black folks a hell of a lot more than you get any preferential treatment from white folks. So you still go through it, and we end up as a community of traumatized people regardless of shade, unless you're in the middle and nobody ever thought to say something about your shade. Even then, you would have caught it for the size of your ears. That's featureism at play. Or the size of your nose or your lips, or somebody else that looks like you that did something foolish. It's always something. We are a community that really, really goes in on each other. Now, while some of this gets played out among adults, the fact is that even we as adults might talk a lot of trash to each other. It's an art form. It's funny as long as you know it's just jokes. But we place too much a priority and too much a premium on this, and we start our kids off too young learning how to insult people. What is the one thing black people are terrible at doing? Complimenting each other for anything outside of athletic or gang-related activities. Now, if it's gang or crime-related, or if it's athletic, or if it's prolific fornication for a man, then we compliment them unabashedly. Well, I mean, I'm just saying, bro, that nigga be fucking them hoes, man. I ain't lying. Am I lying? That nigga be fucking them hoes, bro. We seen it. Okay, compliment a nigga like that. As long as it's not false, you can say it and nobody's gonna say you dick riding. If it's a woman and she's getting money out of guys, would say, yeah, man, she be fleecing them dudes, bro. Am I lying? And as long as it's not false, you're not accused of dick riding. It's okay to compliment. It is acceptable in our communities to compliment black people for things that are either trivial, like sports, or negative. It is not okay to compliment black people for other things. Marcus Garvey. We honor him, but how often do we actually compliment him and say something nice about him? And that's the other thing, too. They have to die before we'll do it. King, he had to die before many of us would say anything good about him and what he was trying to do. We rarely even say somebody meant well. Even if you don't want to overpraise somebody while they're living because they can screw up, you could at least say, when you know what his heart's in the right place, he means well. He's trying. We rarely even say that. We don't build each other up. And this is for all the complexions, both genders, all age groups, all classes of us. Rashida Strober did not make up what she's talking about. She simply may not have actually encountered genuine instances of it in adulthood. She may have. I'm going to tell you guys a story, though, from when I was back in the United States in 2018, and I was in my hometown. My daughters and my son were all together with me. And we went to this very famous fried chicken restaurant, and it's owned by black folks. So in whatever city you might live, find a black-owned restaurant and start with that. So we went there, we were waiting in line, and there was a sister that was, she probably middle-aged or older, and she was sitting at the table, and she had on a guard uniform, and I think it was just private security guard. And she saw my daughter, and my daughter saw her. Now, the lady actually resembled my daughter's maternal grandmother. So my daughter stared a little bit, because she was probably surprised to see her maternal grandmother sitting down in this hometown that my maternal grandmother does not live in. The lady saw my daughter looking and said, "Oh, I know, baby, you don't want to stand too close to me because I'm dark." Just like that. When I heard someone say this, I didn't even know they were talking to my daughter because I was facing the other direction. I felt my daughter tug at me, at my hand. And I turned and looked, and she was looking at the lady. I looked at the lady, and I said to the lady, "Oh, her? No, ma'am. She has a grandmother that looks just like you. That's why, was she staring? Maybe that's why she was staring, because of the resemblance between you and her maternal grandmother. That's all. If she's afraid of somebody, she's afraid of white folks. And I taught her that. Now, in reality, I taught my daughter to be leery of people she does not know, in general. But my daughter knows to keep an extra eye out for white folks that she doesn't know. My daughter understands white supremacy. She understands that people were different from each other. White folks came along and forced everyone to imitate them. My daughter gets it. So the lady was nice, and we had a pleasant conversation afterwards, but in her mind, this is what it was, because she had dealt with colorism from her youth, I'm pretty sure. And my daughter, who did not grow up this way, would have been shocked. See, that's one thing that I did not tell my daughter about because of her age. I didn't tell her about the complexion division within our community. I should have. I didn't. Now she knows. This is real. Rashida Strober is clearly traumatized, and you can tell by how she reacts to certain things. They are triggers. Rashida feels that she's being gaslit because it does exist, but we're trying to act like she's still not right. Well, we could say that she's not handling it the right way. That's because she's traumatized, and she would need to get some help for the trauma. But she's not the only one, not by a long shot. And if we don't like the way she's handling this, fine. We should do a better job as a community of making it unnecessary. That's what I'd recommend now. I want to ask Rashida Strober something too. Not out of hatred, I just want to ask her. Sister Strober, since we're dealing with white supremacy, does this mean, and therefore brothers should go straight for darker skinned women first, and forget not only preferences, but also forget who prefers them? I mean, let's just call it what it is. Most men have to go with who prefers them, and as we get older, these preferences start to mirror who prefers us. But since you're saying we need to fight white supremacy by going specifically for the darker skinned women first, which I understand, there's a time when black men did go for the lighter skinned women first, almost every time. Almost. Or at least that's what they talked about doing. Now, what men talk about doing and what they actually do may differ, just like with women, but I get it. You want to reverse the narrative because you believe in reversing discrimination. And I don't blame you for that. I really don't. The Bedouin here where I live feel that they are superior, so I treat them like they're inferior and I don't hang out with them. That's to reverse the discrimination. I get it. But if we're going to fight white supremacy, then does this also extend to black men that are broke or short? Now that would be my question to you, Sister Strober. But to the community, don't act like she's making this stuff up. You can tell her, look, you're traumatized, but you have to admit that as a child, you may have participated in traumatizing her, and that you yourself may have been through some form of trauma based on either your complexion or any other feature, because black people tear each other down, period. As a matter of fact, when is it okay in the black community to compliment another black person? You see, complimenting black people gets you insulted by other black people, doesn't it? Let's be honest. More so when we're young, but this is the case. We call it dick riding. When is it okay to do it and it's not considered to be dick riding or clit riding? When you're complimenting somebody black for something stereotypical about us in the minds of white people. You can compliment a black man or black woman for only athletic ability, getting money out of men, getting pussy out of women, or criminal activity. Hoeing or pimping or basketball, football, or violence or criminal activity, something gang related. You can compliment a black man for beating up everybody else. You can compliment him for fucking all the hoes, pardon my French. You can compliment her for getting money out of dudes. You can compliment either one of them for sports, gang banging, whooping ass, intimidating other people, scaring them. You start complimenting a black person for something outside of masses negative stereotypes of us, and you're dick riding. Now you get insulted. This may be better now that we're adults, but let's be honest, we went through that phase and it had a mark on us. Rashida went through it and she had to deal with colorism and it left a mark on her. That's on us as a community. She also is going to have to accept that if she's going to talk about some sort of reverse discrimination from what happened before, that this is also going to have to apply to broken, short black men. Black men that women have not chased down before. She's going to have to admit that it's going to have to work both ways. She's not willing to do that. That's on her agenda within the West, maybe even globally. And I, as a man, am not required to forgive that. She may say, but see, that's not how you reverse the discrimination. Matching all the dark-skinned women with the short and poorest men, we right back to square one. Well, I didn't necessarily say the dark-skinned women have to go with the shortest and poorest men, but shouldn't black women in general compete for the shortest and poorest men? Because that means that they're victims of white supremacy. No, she ain't gonna say that. And that's really what we got the right to go after, and I've heard some brothers do that. Now, I've dealt with that topic enough for now. I'll come back to it later. I will say, well, I'll end it by saying that the security guard at the chicken restaurant had been through it when she was younger, and I think she really thought that that's why my daughter was looking. I don't think she made it up per se. And she was nice about it when I told her my spiel and my side. She didn't cut me off. She didn't raise her voice, none of that stuff. She actually let me finish, and then we was cool. It was all right. But it could have gone a lot worse. I could have wound up getting kicked out of there. I will say that when you're black and you're a man and you're light-skinned, especially if you're light-skinned and your hair is straight, you're going to go through the mirror effect of that. You're going to have weapons held up to you sometimes. People are going to do and say things to black folks are going to do and say things to you they would not do to somebody else. They're going to do and say things to you for reasons they would not do and say them to somebody else. As a matter of fact, just like a lot of chocolate sisters say, I got better luck with non-black men. Light-skinned men, especially if they're light-skinned with straight hair, actually will have better luck with non-black women. That is the case. Because there are black men who prefer dark-skinned women, and they're not shamed for saying it, so they're allowed to pursue these women. There are women that actually don't mind, I didn't say prefer, they just, don't mind or are neutral about light-skinned men, and they're not allowed to say that, let alone that they prefer it. So, if being dark-skinned becomes a reason to completely shut off all black men, shut them out, what does it mean when you're a black man and you're very pale, especially if your hair is also straight, and black women won't give you the time of day unless they're using you for something? And you know this because they have to brag to their friends about it. Then what? We are pushing each other away, but when we get into adulthood, it's not mutual anymore. Now, moving on to the next topic regarding meat market value. You could call it sexual market value, romantic market value, or marriage market value. Let's call it meat market value for now. Gamechanger was right about something. We need to start saying to these women, no penis for you, for any reason that is okay socially for them to say to a man, no pussy for you. Now, really, the best and ideal situation would be for men to say, no penis for you because you won't marry me. And by marriage, I'm including cooperation or submission in this. Unless, of course, you're really going 50-50. I'm in favor of men saying this, no penis for you because you ain't going to marry me. And if you're going to marry me, there are going to be some terms. Either you really are doing it 50-50, or you pay the cost to be the boss, and you stay, or I pay the cost, but I'm also the boss, and you listen. Until then, no penis for you. That's the ideal scenario. But if that's unrealistic to expect, then how about simply saying no penis for you for the exact same reason you're okay with saying no pussy for a guy? You wore the ugliest color shirt to work last week and you look stupid in front of people, so no penis for you. Now do you see how dumb it sounds? You get it. But we need to start doing this, gentlemen. Now, I'm going to talk about why we don't do it. Here's what, here goes, and y'all ain't gonna like this. This is not a shot at Black Udo that was on the live stream, because Black Udo sounds very insightful, for one, and I don't know of him to have said dumb stuff like this, but this is a shot at his age group, the boomers. This is a shot at them as a group, as a demographic, and I don't make apologies for this. This includes my parents, but as a Muslim, I got to tell the truth even when it's against myself. let alone someone else. The boomers fucked up royally when they were giving us advice. My own father made some of these mistakes, but he very quickly corrected them. But the boomers as a whole jacked us up when it comes to the two things in life that are very important: money and the opposite gender. What did they tell the genders? They told the girls, you're a princess, you're going to be a queen, get your education, but don't get it to help no man. Get it for you, baby girl. Get your education, don't worry about men, but when a man does come, he has to have and do and be more than you, but be all you can be. Baby girl, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to make $100,000 a year, but when a man comes along, and don't worry about finding him because they going to come, then he has to make $200,000 a year. Do you understand how stupid this is? You tell them to put off finding men all the way up until they're too old to get what they want out of a man? Are you stupid? And you tell them to act and behave in ways that run men off? Then you tell your son, chase after that pussy, get as much as you can. Yeah, you gotta run after it. Of course she gonna run away from you. Keep trying. Oh, you ain't got none yet? You know what? Don't come home. It's Friday night. Don't come home tonight till you done got some pussy. And don't wash your dick before you come home. We were the one, well, actually, I can't say we because I was raised by boomers, but you booming niggas ruined it. You taught wrong. And you passed on simping to another generation. And I, for one, am not ready to forgive you dumb niggas for it. And what did you teach us about work? Go to college. Go to college. That's it. That's the path to success. Go to college. But if you get out of college, when we got out of college and the good jobs weren't available, what did you niggas say? Oh, just take any job. You ain't gonna sit up under this house with no job. Take any job. You would tell us to take jobs, just any job, up until the point that employers started to pay less than it cost to keep a full gas tank to get to work. Less than it costs to wear the clothes presentable and acceptable for the job market. Paying you minimum wage, but you gotta wear suits and ties and have good presentable cars so you can go and sell something from door to door. And then get paid only commission at that. These were the kind of jobs that were available when we got out of college in the late 90s, and you stupid niggas said take them. You stupid niggas set the stage for our generation to fail. And I'm not forgiving you. My parents cleaned their mistakes up fairly early on. May God bless them now. May God guide them so that they can be blessed in the next life. And I mean that from the bottom of my black heart. If you're Muslim, please repeat that dua if you're listening. I ask God to give guidance to my parents, my son, my brother, and my cousin. Now, continuing on, you screwed it up because of the advice you gave. You didn't tell the daughters to throw that feminism aside. You actually could have simply said to them, you can choose between hypergamy or feminism. You can choose the traditional route or the feminist route, but you ain't gonna blend them into something that is all advantages for you and no price to pay. All take and no give. You didn't even tell them that. You told them they could have it all, and then you told men we can't have it all. You had us men thinking that we had to settle for a choice between a woman that knows how to look and knows how to act because they can't come in the same woman. And what did we find? Well, those of us who managed to find some kind of jobs and were able to afford to travel found that you could go other places and find women that can look the part and act the part. And that this is the norm in other countries. Just you niggas let our women decide for themselves that they don't have to do both. And they ain't gonna do both. And that we just gonna deal with it. You ignorant ass niggas. I'm not required to forgive you for this. And don't come back and say, well, maybe your generation needs to learn some accountability. No, you niggas need to learn some accountability. When I was back in the 90s, I admired the culture of the elders. Now it's 2020. Let's say about 20 years later, okay? Those elders ain't around no more. You were middle-aged back then, now you niggas are the elders, and I cannot respect you. You ignorant, brainwashed, colorist, white supremacist, slave mentality having niggas. You old fools ain't got no wisdom. And those of you who do have wisdom, well, you were shunned by the rest of them. Because that's usually what happens. No, I want you boomer niggas to understand, not every last one of you was a part of the problem. My hat goes off to you, those of you that were not. The problem is that those of you who were part of the problem, well, you niggas proliferated. And you shouted down and silenced the ones that had any kind of sense. You were the dumbest and the wrongest, you were also the loudest, and I don't believe in coincidence. You might as well have intentionally destroyed us. Your accidents and your intentions no longer matter. You are the reason that among my age group and the neighboring age groups in the same generation, we men and women have to argue. And it ain't the men starting this shit either. All we have to do is simply say, which one is it between two things that are mutually exclusive? Which one is it? And what does she say with her lowest lane ass? No, nigga, I'm not doing both, even if they're not mutually exclusive. And then they turn around and take two things that are not mutually exclusive and tell us to choose. And you were the niggas behind telling them to do this and telling us to choose. You got it backwards. And that's why the men are happy when they leave and the women are unhappy because they've been left. You are a lot of the reason that black women nowadays don't have the options that they otherwise could have had. But we men now are finding that we don't have options in the nigger community, but when we step out and go somewhere else, we got options. See, I can tell you, Indian culture is fucked up. Pardon my French, but there's no better way to say it. It is jacked up. So is Pakistani culture. So is Arab culture. I got better shots in those communities than I would have ever had in black America. I just refuse because the fact is I am black. I'll tell them I'm black. And even when her in-laws would say, well, you're not really black, what happens when they see pictures of my family and start treating me differently? So I simply avoid and sidestep all of that. But there are people out there that don't have a problem with black folks. You're just lucky that I found out that a non-ADOS black woman had an interest in me, if the continuation of our race is so important to you. Because you messed it up to the point that every ADOS and actually every Western black woman in general is unfit. Now I said in general because there are exceptions, but I'm never going to meet those exceptions. We meet online, we meet by chance, and they're already married to somebody else. But you stupid niggas were the ones come along telling me, well, Blackheart, there's somebody out there for you, just got to keep looking. Okay, I stopped looking and accidentally found out that a non-ADOS black woman who's gorgeous was interested in me. That's what the hell happened. If I had done what you niggas want me to do, I'd still be single now and would have given up eventually because you can't do anything failing forever. I also prospered by doing another thing you stupid niggas said not to do. I left the United States looking for opportunities. I should have done this decades ago, actually. All the debt that I'm in is because I did what you stupid niggas said. And I'm not the only one. A lot of us are that way. We should have left the United States a long time ago in large numbers looking for other opportunities. And we could have headed off a lot of the white supremacist brainwashing that's now going global. But we listen to you stupid niggas. America's the best nation in the world and that's our country too. And we fought for this and we ain't left nothing in Africa. No, nigga, America's the best country in the world to live in because we made it the best and we never got paid for it. We did fight for everything. America does owe us, but we got a better shot of getting it if we go somewhere else. Yeah, we built the plantation, but it's still a plantation. And we ain't never gonna run it unless we take it by force. And you, old plantation, booming ass niggas, were the main ones saying you can't take it by force. That's the one thing you said that might have been true. We can't take it by force, yet. Largely because you niggas did not advance that cause at all. You didn't even advance the cause of repatriation. Yeah, we can't take the plantation by force, so you run the hell away if you can. You niggas wouldn't even say that. All these third world countries, they ain't got no running water, ain't no electricity. No, nigga, you niggas, ooh, May Allah curse your generation for that. And I mean that from the bottom of my black heart and the depths of my black mind. You niggas were just as bad as Zaddy. I mean, you were victims, you were traumatized, so I can't say just as bad, but you niggas did the same work for him. That's part of the reason that white folks nowadays sit back and say, I didn't do anything, I don't know what you're talking about. Sometimes they really don't know what we're talking about, because you were the ones that did it. Don't you talk to them white folk like that. Nigga, fuck you. I'm telling them and you. I'm sick of you stupid ass niggas. And the problem is you still have a voice. Your old sick should be dying off. You can't die fast enough for me. I'm not talking about every last one of you, but you fools. I'm trying to figure out why the hell you fools are staying alive as long as you are. You should have been the first ones to go, because you're the same ones that wouldn't let us tell you how to look after your health. Don't tell me not to eat no pork meat. This pork been good to me. We raised generations off this pork. That was you stupid niggas saying that. Look at the generations we raised. Fuck. Starting with you niggas. And as an old man myself, although I'm not necessarily considered an elder yet, I am appalled. I'm only in my 40s, and I can see the stupidity and the folly of the way you niggas think and taught us to think. And I'm appalled. You've helped Massa. Did you do it intentionally? I'm sure you did not. The problem is, with a little bit of thinking and fudding to shuck up and listening to people who were older than you back then, you could have learned how to not do this. You could have learned from us when we gave you new updated information about the way things are. But you niggas follow that old model. I'm old, I ain't got to listen to you young niggas. What happens when we tell you about something that's new that you just passed up? You make the same mistake that these Bedouin niggas make out here. I'm old, man, I ain't got to listen to these young cats. Many of these young cats are telling these old men how what they're doing is effing up. And when they don't listen, you know what these young men do? They leave and marry someone from abroad. Oh yeah. That's what happens. When a Bedouin man, young man, is advancing his thinking, he's planning for his future. And these old Bedouins are talking about tradition and the past and keeping things the same, even though they started to mess up. These young guys say, F granddad, when I'm an adult, I'm going out of the country and I'm going to marry outside the country. F what granddad says. I know. One of my bosses was doing that. He went and married a Filipina. He has a son with her. You know what? His parents didn't want to accept. He stays with his parents at times. He visits them, but he won't bring his grandchild to his parents until they change their attitude. He said to him, you already got a bad attitude towards his mother, and by extension towards him. I'll bring him by to meet you when you change your attitude towards his mother, because she didn't do anything. And if she does something wrong, you have an attitude towards her because of that, not because of her origin being from the Philippines. Screw you. You wanted me to stay in this country and wait until I was 30 to be able to marry and go on a mountain of debt to do it. Guess what? I'm married, I got a child, and I don't owe a mountain of money to do it. My way worked better than yours. That's what these cats do. The problem is we didn't start saying this to you. So I'm going to say to you young cats, younger than me, you can listen to a boomer. Let them finish what they're saying. Then you give a reply respectfully. And if they start cutting you off, that's when you say to them, okay, you know what? I'm not a child just because I'm younger than you. You cut me off, but I listened to you. Therefore, I've learned what you have in your mind, but you won't know what I have in my mind. Therefore, you are making me wiser than you. Because you're making yourself more foolish and less knowing than me, because you're just going to cut me off all the time. Because, nigga, you know everything. Every time you think you know everything, you wind up knowing less. It happens to everybody, sir. Young, old, you're not too old to be immune to that. I'm sorry, you're not too old to be subject to that. That's what you tell these old cats, and you walk the F off. Make these boomer niggas know we don't listen to them no more unless they're going to listen to us and take turns talking. Just like Gamechanger said, you tell these women, no penis for you, and you say that for any reason that is okay for them to say to a man, no pussy for you. You say to these elders as well, these boomers now, that now are the elders, okay, you can talk but you can't listen. That means you don't know what you're talking about because you ain't learned nothing because you can't listen. Bye. That's what we got to do. And I make no apologies for the way that I've insulted the masses of the boomers, the majority of them. I apologize because I didn't get started on them before and with more smoke. And to the ones of them that were not part of this problem, I mean it when I say that I got the utmost respect for you, because I understand the foolishness you had to live through with so much patience all these years, if you're still around to hear me. The fact that many of you are not around anymore is probably due to the stress that these ignorant ass niggas put you through. We would have been better if those of you who had some wisdom had wiped out the foolish ones a long time ago, even if it meant our numbers would have been smaller, because sometimes quality has to be given a priority over quantity. And they messed us up bad. They probably messed you up bad too while y'all were younger. And I really am sorry that the smarter ones, the truly wise of you, had to deal with that. I wish that I had better things to say. And I hope that one day in the future what I'm saying now will no longer be true. In the meantime, I hope it helps. Sorry for swearing so much. Black heart, black mind, the blackest man on social media, signing black out. Assalamu alaikum. And black male power just because they don't like it.